I can hear that very loud.
You can? You can hear that? Why can't I hear that?
All right. We are live. What's going on, guys?
Welcome back to the WODprep podcast.
It is Thursday, July 23rd. As you guys might have noticed, not CJ. You get someone a little bigger, a little bit more handsome today. Hopefully he'll watch that back.
And by the way, this is my first time setting all this up, so just with assistance, I might add. But either way, just let us know if you can or cannot hear us well or anything like that. Let us know. If we could get like some sort of a thumbs up in the chat, that would be amazing.
Yeah, we are here at the Age Group CrossFit Games, final day for Masters. The 30 to 44-year-olds or 35 to 44-year-olds are starting their first workout of the day. They get a specific piece that only they are doing. And then the rest of the age groups will start in reverse order, 70 down to 45, starting at like 11 o'clock. So
Yep.
right at 11.
Yeah. Let's see. Straight out of the gate, we got it here. I'll just start that question for the individuals. We'll come back. But so do you know what the workout is for the younger age divisions this morning? It's a seated rope climb.
It's 8 rounds of a, oh man, what is the first movement? I know it's a seated legless rope climb into I think that is the first movement. Seated legless rope climb into a heavy sandbag clean into a long shuttle run. So essentially one legless rope climb seated for the individuals on the way up.
Starts with a shuttle run.
Oh, sorry, it starts with a shuttle run. So 240-foot shuttle run, one seated rope climb, completely legless for the men, both up and down. For the ladies, I think it's legless up, and then doesn't matter how you come down. And then a heavy sandbag clean at 200/150. And then you'll take it as you clean it to the shoulder, walk 5 feet, drop it in the next square, and then head back for your shuttle run. One of those ones where, like, I mean, you know, it's a double-edged sword, right? I think it's a great workout to test in the competition. I'd like to see maybe more sandbag cleans, like 8 sandbag cleans for the 35-year-olds, for both the men and the women, across 8 rounds is not a lot. So I think this is going to be kind of fast. I mean, the seated legless rope climb definitely will be a separator. For those, you know, hopefully also, you know, the rope is really only maybe 10 to 12, maybe 12 feet off the ground. So, I mean, it's going to be a fast movement for these guys. You know, you got to be careful with making sure your legs are off the ground when you actually touch the ground, like with your butt. We see that in, you know, I think it was 2023 in semifinals. That was like some costly no reps for a lot of athletes there. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the sandbag be just maybe a few more reps. I mean, you know, I think back to Syndicate 2 years ago, where they had 10 heavy cleans to open with the heavy bag and then 10 cleans to finish, right? So, I mean, this is one where the sandbag is not going to be a factor for your 35-year-olds. I don't see it being a factor even for like your 44-year-olds. But still should be a fun event in terms of, you know, any event that progresses down the floor like that, where you can really live, you know, see the progression of all the athletes on the floor will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at that, like you said, like the first 2 movements are going to be the key components of what, like that sandbag almost feels insignificant is what I'm hearing, because it's 1 per. But yet, if you look at the 5-foot advancement, right? 5-foot advance, then like, what is it really doing? Well, yeah, you pick it up and move it. It's almost like a chess piece. Like you're just moving it. It's just like a heavy chess piece.
That's a good point.
You know, is at least what that looks like upon reading that to me. Is that's just going to be a good indicator on the floor of who's actually in the lead and not a significant piece of the work itself.
Yep. So that's the first event. And then the second event is kind of like a biking, or it's like a DT with a bike buy-in. I think that's a fun piece to kind of make for the final event.
This one's for everyone. So everybody's playing this one. This will be the final event for all divisions today.
Yep. And, you know, it's going to be one where I think you see a lot of people send it. I don't think it's possible to do it all in one interval. I'd love to be proved wrong, but I mean, that would be like
bananas.
Sub 40 second or like right around 40-second DT rounds. And then you like have to go sub 1 minute on the bike.
Okay. So let's talk about that then. So let's go to the 35 to 39s, for example.
Yeah.
How fast are those top guys doing that 40 calories on the bike?
I mean, I mean, if you're truly sending it, then like a minute. I mean, they could do it in a little faster, but like I don't think that they're able to get past more than 2 rounds of DT.
Okay.
If that.
And so
I think this is going to be kind of like that attrition piece of like how far can you get in the first round, and I think you see a lot of guys finish in the second. I think for the upper age groups, it's going to be a fight more for that second and third interval.
Yeah.
Of DT. So.
Yeah, and so barbell loading, of course, for those 35 to 39s, the men are working with 155, and DT is 1296 deadlift.
Yep. Hang power clean, shoulder to overhead.
Right, just for reference. I would assume most know, but not all.
Yeah.
So they're just going to work as fast, as hard as they can, if you will, to get through 5 total rounds of that, right?
Yep. Yeah. So like basically completing the DT or completing DT within that interval. I think you see a couple different strategies. I don't think the traditional DT rep scheme like strategy is a bad idea here. That being doing 11 deadlifts, dropping, taking a breath, hitting your 12th deadlift into like 8 hang power cleans, dropping your 1 hang power clean, then going into 6 push jerks. I don't think we see people going just straight unbroken. Maybe like if you enter your last round, but I mean like that bike is gonna catch up. And the worst thing that can happen is like you full send the first round,
right?
And then in that second round, like the bike hits you like half in the middle of the calories, and then you're just absolutely crushed trying to get to that barbell.
Yeah, because these guys would be able to smash DT, right? Like that's but they're now the pre-fatigue element.
Yeah, the pre-fatigue element. It's the end of the competition weekend.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's going to be, a good test of grit. Just see like who kind of wants to hurt a little bit more to finish. But again, who can also be smart.
Yeah, I think this is also just the structure of this workout alone. I think whenever I was listening, generally, I like this programming across the board. It seems like a great test. It seems like the comments, thoughts from athletes, coaches is that they even scaled quite well from the age divisions, and sometimes that can be quite a challenge. So seems pretty positive broadly, but when reading them, this is the one that I'm like, oh, that's a really fun structure. Like whoever wrote that came up with going about that in that way. I like this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good competition element piece where you have a buy-in, and then you're taking a classic benchmark, and essentially you're like, okay, like we all, if you've done DT multiple times, kind of what your strategy is, it's where it's going to start to hurt.
Yeah.
And then of course, adding the, unknowable, just like the element of, okay, that's pre-fatigue you on a bike, and that's definitely going to make it kind of nasty. And I mean, any kind of piece where you're building in that kind of work to rest, like that 2-2-2-3 interval, like the 3 on 1 off kind of interval, that definitely entices you to push a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think it's a good competition piece to end, right? I think that we're going to see some people completely send and potentially crash. That's from a spectator standpoint, it's fun to watch.
Yeah. The speaking of the interval, the 2-2-2-3 is something we've become really accustomed to, or even like a 3-3-3-4 or something like that. Like we've seen that structure more commonly, and I also love that. So maybe that's just kind of my inclination to like this style. But anyway, this one's just written slightly different than I've seen in a while, and I really like that about it. Also, CJ, if you wanted to be on the show, you could just come on the show, since you're,
I think that people prefer me anyway.
Yeah. And you did you actually introduce yourself, who you are? You're one of our one-on-one coaches. Most people, a lot of people will know, but some people will not.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I mean, at this point on the podcast, I feel like I'm kind of a myth at this point. So I'm Nelson, one of our one-on-one coaches. I'm also one of our athletes. I'm coached by CJ, so I guess that's why I'm partially allowed to talk some smack.
He's an alternate on a team here at the games. He'll pivot over
on a team, Team Solidarity Base Camp. So excited to see them go. It's a cool story. 3, I guess technically myself included, 4 out of the 5 individuals on the team are all from the same affiliate. So definitely, you're old school. We all train together every day. Seeing each other with the ups and downs. So yeah, I'm super excited for them. Yeah. And then also coaching an individual here at the age group games. WODprep as a collective have 8 athletes here. So
at the age group alone.
Yep, at the age group alone. Then we also have 3 in adaptive.
Yes.
And then myself on the team, and then also our WODprep athlete Gucci on the Team Reykjavik team, coached by CJ. So a lot of representation here from WODprep at the games.
Yeah.
CJ saying my mic is jumpy. Let me get a little closer so y'all can really hear me.
Oh, turn it down.
Turn it down. See, that's why I thought that was a little loud. It might
be this one? I think you're this one.
Okay. Yeah, that looks right.
Yep. CJ, if you want to let us know if that sounds good, thank you for telling us, setting up the road cat. You'd be so proud. I mean, it wasn't overly complicated, but I was like, well, hope this works. So, and you mentioned all the 8 masters athletes, but what's cool is that's just our one-on-ones. The number of athletes that have come out to the booth throughout the weekend and just, oh my gosh, Ben, you helped me with this and that, or so many conversations we have. And they're like, yeah, I'm already a member of Academy. And it's just so cool. So there's actually more athletes, to be honest, than we have a total tally on.
100%.
That are, have been involved or are currently involved at the academy level and so on, which is so freaking cool. So, and speaking of that, before we pivot on to the next thing, I'll just go ahead and draw attention to that QR code in the corner. If you have not scanned that, make sure that you do. It says at the top of the screen what that is. It's an application for a $7,500 value of scholarship, which is insane, never been done before for WODprep, that we have given away a year of one-on-one coaching. That is a crazy value. The one-on-one coaching with WODprep is extremely high touch. They write all your programming. They're very, very, like I said, they're talking to you all the time. And so anyway, you get that. You also get a ticket to WODprep camp in August that we'll be doing in Colorado, and you get access to Academy for a year. So if you have not already scanned that QR code and filled out that application, I would strongly encourage you to make sure and do that. So, okay, so that's the workouts. Talk about our athletes real quick.
Yeah, do we want to dive into just like the leaderboards in general?
Absolutely.
Go in reverse order.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we're going to start out with our 70 plus lady. Let me get over here.
I know she just actually popped on by. Maybe we can get her to sit down on the podcast for a second. But yeah, so Terry Carey.
Yep.
The name's so nice you say it twice, or rhymes twice, I guess. She's CJ's athlete, individual 70 plus, sitting in second place.
And she's got a 90-point buffer.
Yeah.
On third.
So this is one of those ones where I'm sure CJ is gonna have the conversation with her, like, hey, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna have some fun, we're gonna fight. But the positions are more or less locked for her in second.
Yeah.
I think the objective is to, you're racing one person, right? You see this in the sport all the time. So, there's a little bit of some gamesmanship of just seeing where she is the entire time and try to beat her. But beyond that, there needs some separation between her and Betty to take over that top spot. And I think, looking at it, it's the difference between first and maybe like 8th, 7th or 8th. So, a lot has happened, but we've seen that before. And this is a very specific workout, right? Like, your people who are higher, better bikers and, really efficient on the barbell, like, are, going to be a lot different than, let's say, the people who were doing the kind of like Fran variant or the thruster pull up yesterday. So different type of athlete here. So, I think that plays a bigger role.
Yeah. So you mentioned different type of athlete. Let's take a look over.
Yeah. In terms of those finishes. Also, just a fun side note. I think this is the most amount of time I've seen the frequency of the name Betty and like Betsy show up. I think there's like 6 athletes across the 65 to 70 division with those names. Maybe 60 to 70 plus. So
it looks like in workout number 5, which was that sprinty one you're referencing, Betty was third and Terry was second. So, and you can just look across the board. These 2 girls have been kicking it out. So it looks like the handstand, or well, for them, it was the overhead walk. That was actually one that Terry crushed it on that one. So I do want to go ahead and go down a little bit further down this leaderboard. Let's see here. Sitting in 8th right now is Janie Gregory, which she is also a WODprep Academy member. She's been really fun to see in there, working hard on her skills, making progress. So
yeah, I think when she started with us, like double unders weren't super present. A lot of the higher level gymnastics stuff were kind of iffy. And, watching her warm up, they had double unders in their second event yesterday, and she was crushing them. So really cool to see that, right? Because there's a lot of athletes that we see. I don't want to say like vicariously, but like they post through our academy. So even though we may not directly coach them one-on-one, we assist them on these skills and we see the progression and development. And that shows that even athletes at the highest level still are trying to refine skills, and academy is an awesome place to do that.
CJ is so active in the comments right now. Where is he?
I have no idea. He's like holed up somewhere.
Brother, what are you doing? I'm sure he's doing plenty, but I'm also like, where are you?
I mean,
I'm surprised you're here.
I got a text
Happy
from
you're
him
here
on his bike. CJ is also commuting around the entirety of San Jose on a mountain bike that he bought off of a 12-year-old kid as soon as he got here, which is honestly the coolest thing. Yeah, okay, so he's at Starbucks. Figured that.
Got it.
So yeah,
probably totally
been there since 4
a.m.
Totally baller move.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the 70 plus men. We're just going to go ahead and call out where people are. We don't have athletes in this division.
I kind of have an athlete,
okay.
more or less. So Doug Whirl is at from the gym where I started CrossFit at down in Virginia Beach.
Oh, cool. Yeah. He came by and said hello.
Yeah, so he's a good dude. He's been trying to make for the last couple of years. This is his rookie year and sitting in 4th. I think won the row event. He's a tall dude, really powerful, so that's cool to see. I know this is David Hippenstill's last time competing in the CrossFit Games. So, I saw a post about him reflecting on that. So that'll be cool to see. I mean, he's been a name in the sport for a long time. Thomas Ackerman, though, also very consistent. I don't know if this is his first year in the 70, but I know he's been competing for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, no relation to Nate Ackerman. But very, very fit individual. Seeing him in the warm-up area moves really well, which I think is just, the beauty of CrossFit in itself, that not only can these individuals actually perform the work at 70, but can perform work with like relative virtuosity for being 70 years old.
That's a really cool call out.
So I mean that it's really cool to see that.
Yeah. That actually, I'm really glad that you touched on that, because in some competitions I get the if I'm out on the floor, I'm seeing it happen. I've had the opportunity to have a lot of exposure to the masters athletes, but in this specific competition I've been in there almost none. So I don't even know those details. And that is a great call out. It's something I actually I think about a lot. And as far as if you at some point lose access to full extension of a joint, then it's like, okay, can you regain access to that as well? But then, and that'd probably be a better conversation for CJ anyway. And we do talk about that a little bit, but like you said, like virtuosity, or even just Ben was telling a story about, I think it was the Ring Muscle Up program, like way back when he very first launched it. One of his very first people to purchase it was an athlete that was in their 60s, I believe. And it was like,
that's awesome.
And it was so long ago that it was at a time where, for the most part, you would have an athlete in that age group that just would assume that movement was too far gone for their age. Right. But this guy signed up and was determined. And what do you know? He's got him, and he's doing still to this day. So it was cool to have that conversation yesterday. And now you see the evolution from then, when that was launched, which was probably over a decade ago now. And the novelty of an athlete at that age doing a movement like that, and even believing that it was possible, you bring it forward to now 20th year of the games, and you have these athletes moving with virtuosity well into their 70s now, and still gaining access to new strengths, skills, etc. It's just really, really cool to see. Really
why we do it.
Yeah, love it. Cool. 65 to 69 women. We've got Susan Clark. Fun story for her. I'm going to just take a peek at, let's see, workouts 1, 2, 3, and 4.
She's won every event.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm assuming, she's
healthy margin. So, I mean, she's operating on another level. I mean, it's really cool to see. I mean, not so much for me because I'm coaching an athlete in this division, but I mean, it's, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you gotta tip your hat to her. I mean, she's coming out and just moving like at a different cadence than the other athletes, especially like in that thruster snatch work or the thruster bar facing burpee work. I don't know what the differentiation was between her and second place, but I mean, you're seeing her at the finish mat well before most other athletes.
Which it's fun. We had her on the Flow Elite post show, and it was just great because on this division, the two highest or most senior divisions, if you will, are the two that didn't get to do the handstand walk. Everybody else got to do the handstand walk. And she made sure to slide that in there. Like, I want that, really, really cool. Okay. So then let's go on down. You are coaching
Joan Tilton. This is her rookie year at the game. She's been trying to make it for a long time. So, I mean, she was stoked to make it. And I mean, our goal is, is to fight for that top 10 position. It was one of those things where yesterday, like, our goal was to like fight in the top heat. And unfortunately, like, this is one of the divisions where there's not 20 individuals. So, I mean, that even though we slid to that first heat, that we still have a lot in our control, and we're just going to go out there and send it. I mean, it's just, she's having a great time, learning a lot. I mean, so much of this is just like understanding, that concept of how to race, but also how to stay in your own spot. We had a few events where, 3, 2, 1, go. You see where everybody's at, and you're immediately like, okay, I have to push harder. When in reality, it's like maybe that's not where it's won. So it's all those kind of things that we're learning. Again, and that's the cool part, learning even at 65, 66, in terms of the sport. And she's had a lot of wins so far too. I mean, the run absolutely crushed what we did in practice. I think she took 5th or 4th there. 6th.
Workout number 1, 6th.
Yes, I mean, like a really good showing for her there, just considering she's not one of the tallest athletes in the field, one of the biggest athletes in the field.
Yeah, she's a little thing.
Yeah, but I mean, she was crushing it, right? I mean, it was also cool.
Little
it was one
and
of those open, like open courses where I was, more or less kind of running alongside her on that last lap for a little bit, trying to push her along. So, yeah, it was definitely fun. So, I mean, and it's also just great being in the arena with all these other athletes, seeing them come out for their families. I mean, this is one of those more unique experiences, right? We talk about it as a detractor a little bit, this idea of all the individuals here aren't necessarily being drawn to via just like spectators / fans of the sport like we see at the games, right? I think the 35 to 39, like we're definitely seeing that, right? But I think, on the flip side of that, having the people that are there who are very close to this specific athlete, right? Whether it be people from the gym, whether it be family members. I mean, it adds another layer, right? Where it's, instead of, if we're watching the individuals and, we're all just like fans of these athletes, it's really cool to see. But when you're all actually invested in the athletes and, you have a big crowd there and you see like the fat heads and the, little faces on the sticks and stuff, it definitely adds, that like layer of proximity that I think, an intimacy that you don't necessarily see with the individuals as much. I mean, you still see that. I mean, I think Medeiros bought an entire section out at the Sharks Arena. So
how crazy is that? See. I mean, I know it's his backyard, but
yeah. Whoa. But even so, I think that it's cool to see that, seeing some of these other athletes and having like Joan line up next to them, you get to not only know the athlete, but know like kind of the families and friends of these athletes, which, kind of like brings us all closer together, I think, too.
Well, and all the athletes, the resounding theme is, these are my peers, and they are in the world. They're kind of strange creatures. And so they get to make their besties now that understand the weird things that they do that the rest of the world tells them they shouldn't keep doing. But yet here they are proving everyone wrong.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to watch. So yeah, it's
You want to dive into the men?
Yeah, sure. 65 to 69 men.
This is one division that unfortunately I have not seen any of because the floor is both men on one side, women on the other side. So I'm seeing them warm up, but not able to really check them out here.
As far as athletes that Wayne O'Hara, WODprep Academy athlete, sitting in 4th. So, and then let's see, point spread I don't think is too crazy. Yeah, so he's at 314. Points. Yeah, 3.5 points off a podium.
That's winner take all in that next event.
Totally. Yeah. Whoever beats the other one in this realistically will either be on or off the podium. So let's go ahead and move on to the 60 to 64 ladies.
Sitting at the top, WODprep 101 athlete Rose Wall.
Ooh.
So, definitely helped yesterday with the thruster and bar facing burpee event. Being next to CJ and talking to him afterwards, he knew that event was going to go well. I don't think he necessarily expected Rose to move in the way that she did, which I mean, I don't know if you guys were able to check out that event, but just insane cycle speed with the bar. I mean, I think the comment I made to him afterwards was, yeah, I think she's cycling that bar faster than I would. I mean, she was crushing it. So moved really well in that one, won the workout and gave herself a little bit more breathing room from Betsy, who, in her own right, I think struggled in that one a little bit, but will move, I think, the DT bar pretty well. So, it's going to be one that we'll have to check out there. So that's going to be, our main event from the WODprep coaching side, checking that out, that last event. But yeah, I mean, like between them, I think, huge point separation between second and third. I don't know if there's a huge gap between third and fourth. 7 points, so definitely able to make it up. Shout out Angela Yates. She's over at CrossFit Cornelius in North Carolina. One of my buddies that I've kind of competed around is coaching her this weekend. So, we'd like to see maybe her end up on the podium.
Yeah. And then Lynn Watt in 11th.
Yep, Lynn Watt in 11th. That's Orlando's athlete. Veteran in the sport. I think this is her 5th games. So, been around the block. One of those situations where, if longevity is the name of the game in the sport for these athletes, you get kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? When you're trapped I don't want to say trapped, but, when you're caught in the middle of a age division where you're going to age up soon and still kind of stuck where you are, that makes it, in theory or on paper, I guess you could see that as less motivating. I know Rose at 59, almost podiumed last year. So there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, she's having, a good bounce back weekend. I think, also not being the tallest or biggest athlete in the field, a lot of these like machine dominant and also running workouts weren't necessarily her forte, but I think she crushed the handstand portion or the overhead carry portion. I know they had handstand walks. They didn't have.
Yeah, they
did.
did.
Yeah, so crushed the handstand walk portion, and is looking to finish strong here on DT.
I love it. That then talking about age divisions and so on, for that just takes me to the Flow Elite recap show that we did last night, and I'll be doing those daily, guys, and so you can go over to the Flow Elite channel to watch those. I believe they'll be over on the CrossFit Games channel as well, but either way, you can certainly check them out on their YouTube channel or on the app itself. And so we had a couple guests in last night. One of them was Becca Voigt, which maybe I'm being a little bit proactive in bringing her up, so maybe I should hold off, but just thinking about going through all the different age divisions that she's competed as an individual for 10 years and then as a masters individual for 8 years, 9 if you count COVID year, because she certainly qualified. And she has the most games appearances of anyone of all time.
Yep.
She has, the only year she didn't do was 2007, which was year number 1.
Yeah.
She's done it every year since. She's an affiliate owner, has a full life. And it was just, anyway, you could go listen to that conversation if you want to hear from her directly about all of that. But just talking about, aging up in different divisions and so on. But she's just like, this to me is an expression of what our methodology is, basically, And so it's just, this goes with you through the seasons of life.
Right.
And they are all in different seasons. And anyway, so, okay. A little early on that, but we'll get to her soon. In the men's 60 to 64, I don't think we've got any athletes over here.
Yeah, it's another one where it's tough because, Rose is going and they're on the other side of the floor. So kind of the nature of having both athletes go again, I haven't been able to see very, very much.
Yep. Yeah, but you've got Antonio Baldrini, I believe, in first, Sylvan Roy in second, and Andrew Denham in third.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't say relatively tight, but I mean, definitely some mix-ups here. Tied for third too with David Powell. So definitely one where another winner take all, or I assume it's a total higher finishes from what it looks like. So looks like David it has to win as opposed to tie. So definitely some good fights there, kind of coming down the stretch.
Love it. Women's 55 to 59. We also don't have any athletes in this age division.
We don't. I know for me, this is definitely, some good kind of scouting. I think I have on my roster a good 6 55 to 59 athletes who are all very competitive, right on that cusp of, finishing anywhere from, I think I had one in 26th to like 54th in semis.
Okay.
So definitely right on that kind of trying to make the game's cusp. So this is definitely one where looking at some of the scores, seeing where some of the output is here from some of these athletes for, my athletes who are trying to make it there. And yeah, I mean, some surprises for sure. I mean, Cindy Hinkle being a perennial like 55 to 59 games athlete and seeing her not in a podium contention spot is surprising. I haven't been able to watch much of her this weekend. But one where, that's one where, you have athletes that come into that age group and they're looking to, come for some blood and get a podium spot. Dana Mather, another one too, been in the age group for quite a while. Julie Schaefer as well. So, you're seeing, like I said, this kind of turnover of athletes entering the age division. And this one being, I think, the most prominent shift. We see most scales and modifications and volume changes happen from the 50 to 54 into the 55 to 59. So seeing that's definitely shaking up the leaderboard a little bit. So, we'll see what happens in that division to end. But yeah, I mean, definitely one that I think surprised me compared to what I would have as like a prediction coming in.
Okay. Men 55 to 59. We've got Rowan Lowe in. He had a noteworthy performance yesterday, I think in event number 4, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he's sitting at the top with 465 points. I think he's South African, I believe, is what that flag is. Eric Smith sitting in second with 377.5. So good size gap between 1 and 2 there. And then Randy Lowe in the third place spot. A little bit of a gap there too. So that, I mean, those look like, well, likely
to get locked up there.
Yeah, and you've got 11 points separating fourth and third. So maybe not total lock there, but workout number 4. Let's see. It's like he got 11. So I can't remember. Of course, yet again, I wasn't in there. I just remember hearing that his event number 4 performance. Was
yeah, it should have been the gymnastics and dumbbell box step overs.
Yes, yeah, it was pretty. And I think it was just because it was so it was gritty. It was a tough one to grit through. So cool. All right, women 50 to 54. Anything noteworthy here for you? You've got some. You're used to seeing Jen at the top every year. Kim Purdy's a name that super familiar with. And looks like at the points here. So Jen's got 355 points. She's only 2.5 points back from the third place coming into the final. So again, there you go. That's going to be another.
I think this is a good workout for Jen too.
It's a great workout for Jen, in my opinion. Yeah, definitely. And then Emily sitting in first with 397 points. So it's not quite as spread out on this leaderboard. Let's go ahead and keep it moving. The women's 45-49, I already touched on Becca Voigt, just having a really solid showing here. She only has 5 points on second going into this final, Kelly Marshall. So not a huge gap between the two of those ladies. There is a more significant gap between them and third place, Kelly Friel. And then
I think this division too, being able to watch this a good bit because we have one of our athletes, Jen McKesh,
sitting in 12th coming in to the final event.
A lot of different body types in this division.
True.
And you see that play to just a lot of different styles of the workouts. Kelly absolutely smashing the thruster and bar facing burpee piece. And then that being Kelly Friel.
Yep.
And then Kelly Marshall, I think, really crushing the gymnastics piece prior with the dumbbell box step overs. Rebecca being very just consistent across all of the pieces. I think Rebecca's going to do really well on the bike piece as well.
Yeah, her lowest finish was that sprint.
Yeah,
and
which kind of can come down to cycle speed. You can argue almost.
Yeah, and she's strong. She's powerful.
Yeah.
You should expect her to do well in the final.
Yes, I mean, I think Kelly Friel does well in the final there. So it looks like the point spread there is pretty significant. So, I mean, it's a battle for first and second. So this is going to be another one too where I could see like Kelly Marshall completely going dummy on that first round to try and see if she can, make her shot with third place more or less like locked up. In terms of her not being able to drop. So, I mean, that's always a fun experience as an athlete to be like, hey, like your objective is to go and burn it down. If it crashes, no big deal. And if it works, then it works. I mean, I think that's
not much to lose at this point.
Yeah, you let the reins off of the athlete and just kind of let them do their thing. And that's a freeing thing for an athlete. And at the same time, also like kind of scary, knowing like, okay, I have to really, really make this hurt.
Yeah.
And then, I think that's kind of the opportunity for Jen too, right? Like, I'm not sure exactly what like her placement is points wise, nor do I know her conversation with CJ, but I would assume it would be something like, hey, like we're gonna go out there and absolutely rip it. I'm sure there's some strategy to it as well, but with it being the last one, especially with it, the components being a barbell and an echo bike, it's going to be a little bit of, you gotta know when to grit and when to just kind of empty the tank out a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. CJ said, but I'm looking forward to all 3 of my athletes smashing it. Love it. Yeah. I mean, CJ, we can just brag on him since he's not actually with us right now. Like, this is a really cool, he almost feel like bit off more than he could chew with all the things that he's got going on this week. But
that doesn't sound like CJ.
Yeah, but it's not more than he could, like he is, I know, doing a lot, but he can actually, it's just, I'm really happy for him because he has been a coach in the space for a long time who cares about his athletes. And is, I mean, like at such a deep level, their success and failure. He is the first one to tell you he rides the emotional roller coaster probably more than most coaches.
Yeah.
And so this is a special moment for him where his athletes are having a good weekend for each one of them, right? Like they're performing well, they're feeling good. Nobody's going through anything significant that poorly. And then not to mention 2 of them are gonna, very likely
through the last event.
Very likely
I'm
wind
sure
up in a good
CJ's
position.
knocking on some wood at whatever Starbucks in San Jose he's at. But
but I mean, this is our show for today, and I'd just like to.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, it's why I started working with CJ for my own athletic careers. The amount of care and sometimes to the fault of his own health, sending me messages at like 2 or 3 in the morning. But
brother needs to go to sleep.
He cares, and you see it show, right? Like, and if you pour into your athletes and, you care about what you do and try to get better as a coach, you see that in the results of your athletes. And I think that's coming up for him this weekend. But one more, we got one more. We can say that after the fact.
Yep. That might be another good time to plug back to that QR code in the top right-hand corner. Make sure that you scan it if you have not already, because it will enter you for a chance to win a $7,500 scholarship, including a year of one-on-one coaching with one of our one-on-one coaches, and a ticket to WODprep camp, and a year's worth of a subscription to WODprep Academy.
Yeah.
Ridiculous value. Scan it, apply for free to enter for a chance to win truly exceptional coaching. Huh?
Oh, outfit him with swag.
Look at Ben. He's throwing in more goodies. He's taking it up a notch. He said, we're going to give you some swag. Are you going to give him a jersey? He might get you a jersey. Hey, listen, the only people that have these jerseys are staff. So
game-worn jersey from Ben.
Jersey. He'll even sign it for you. All right.
Let's dive into the 45 men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So Kane Hayes sitting in first, Jonathan Varela sitting in second, and Andy Tim sitting in third. Looks like it is, wow, half a point difference between 1 and 2. And then not a significant difference between 2 and 3. And then if you go beyond that, you've still got a 5-point gap between 3 and 4.
Yeah, this definitely looks like the most competitive division that we've seen thus far. I mean, this is quite literally anyone's game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this, unfortunately, this is going to be on the other side of the floor for us for Jen's event. But, I expect it to be very loud on the other side of the floor. Essentially, more or less a winner take all. I mean, I think Andy to win would need a little bit of separation between him and the other two. But I mean, it's, especially when you're lined up like, 5, 4, and 6, it's going to be a tight race in the middle there.
Yes. Yeah. That's fun. 40-44 women, Carlene Matthews in first, Carly Newlands in second, and Andrea Pinheiro in third. Looks like there's about 25 points separating 1 and 2, and then
and this is cool, man. This is where you start to see some veterans in the CrossFit space, competing at a high level, like Carlene Matthews, Andrea Pinheiro, definitely some names that you recognize on high level leaderboards. So, definitely cool to see them competing in this kind of space amongst all the athletes here.
Yep. In 10th, Jamie Latimer.
Yep. Yeah.
Also, on the very first workout, she got a gnarly injury. I mean, she's fine, but also like her elbow. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Big old gash.
Like from a fall or
running into something. I mean, it was just like a tight corner, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Talked to her about it briefly, but either way, she whopped something pretty good with her arm. And I mean, it's no small. Like Anyway, so she's had to overcome that over the course of the weekend. 40-44 men, Rudy Berger sitting in first, Jordan Troyan sitting in second, and Bradley Alcock sitting in third. 31 points between third and second, and a bit more larger chunk between 1 and 2. So those are. Oh, look, James Hobart. He's sitting in fifth right now. I just recall seeing that event number 1 maybe wasn't the best workout number 1. He had a 25th there, but then if you look, he got a 3rd, a 7th, a 3rd, a 9th, and a 14th, and a 4th. So anyway, he's definitely, that was his lowest finish kind of by far. And I think DT would probably be pretty good for him. And I don't know about the bike.
He's a great barbell cycler. Yeah. I mean, obviously we all know James. He's, the standard for movement whenever you look up, anything movement dash CrossFit, air squat CrossFit, thruster CrossFit, or even just thruster. James did my level 1, and hilarious story. Just I think I was 18 and did my level 1, asked for a picture afterwards, naturally. And most of the people there at the seminar were a little kind of I could see a little kind of taken aback, why are you asking for the instructor's photo? It's a little odd. And needless to say, they were unaware of his status at that point, being a multiple-time individual, team, games athlete, the face of CrossFit in a lot of facets for a long time. So again, really cool to see him here. I mean, this is his first go at it from the Masters division. So I think that shows, again too, that like, you can, this is like what Claire said earlier, like just like the seasons of everything, right? Like, going from a, long and acclaimed individual and team career, then, just having CrossFit be a part of your life and then being able to make it to the highest level for his age group, right? So, I mean, and it never stops, but it also can stop and then get back to where you want to get back to. So I think that's really cool seeing him there. And I hope he comes back next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And then going to the notables, let's go ahead and go to 35 to 39 women, and then we'll finish out with the men's race. So coming into the final day of competition, sitting in first is Carolyn Prevost with 452 points. Mackenzie Riley just behind her, 438 points, followed by Sammy Scorzelli with 399 points. So yet again, from Sammy, got a little bit larger gap, but Carolyn and Mackenzie are they've got 2 more events today. So this division's got
they
2 events
going shortly, I think.
Right.
Right now.
Yeah. So there, I mean, this is definitely I expect Carolyn to do pretty well on DT is like right up her alley. I think bike, maybe it isn't necessary. I don't know that it's
She's
good or
definitely
bad,
good.
right?
She's one of those like I can make it hurt athletes.
Yeah.
And again, so is
sure.
Mackenzie. I mean, these are athletes that we have a lot of data on. We've seen them at high levels. We've seen them at the CrossFit Games. So I think this is going to be one where again you're definitely doing a little bit of watching, and I think Carolyn only moves as hard as she needs to stay either at or slightly in front of Mackenzie.
She pays close attention.
Yeah. Whereas Mackenzie's, probably just again like reins are off, go dark, and try and make it happen.
Love it. Yep. So, and then last but not least, and shout out to Lido. She's a longtime show listener, and she is sitting in 5th. What a great weekend for Lido. Super cool. Yeah, there's just a lot of really great athletes in here. Awesome. Just taking a look down the leaderboard, seeing where everybody's sitting. Kristen Panchik sitting in 22nd.
Yeah, and also same kind of thing too. I think that's another awesome story just from the fact of we all know Scott. We all know all 3 brothers. Having her come in and compete the highest level too just shows that like it's even at the highest level, like that's something you want to do, you can go out and try and do it. So I think that's really cool just to see this kind of level. Yeah,
you got 3 brothers and a wife.
Yeah.
All competing at the CrossFit Games. Super cool. 2 as individuals, 2 as masters. Well, I guess that's the wife. There we go.
Yeah.
I thought for a second I said sister. I was like, that didn't work.
No,
but she
no,
would
you're
be
good.
sister-in-law.
You're good. Yes,
anyway,
yes.
All right, moving on. So now for the 35 to 39 men. This is a race that I think a lot of eyeballs have been on all weekend, hopefully, as they should be. We've got so many athletes. In fact, we should just, do you know exactly how many athletes we have that were individual competitors that are now in this division?
We got Noah,
something like 10.
Scott, Travis. I don't know about Ludwig, but having an amazing weekend.
Yeah.
Nick Anapolsky, I don't think he's made the games, but like multi-time semifinal athlete, been around the sport for a long time, is always going to win a run event more or less. Marquand, individual athlete.
Yeah. Travis, I don't know if you said him also. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Casey Strong, team athlete historically. Con Porter, individual. Sam Dancer, obviously, also individual. So Christian Ramon, you see him each year duking it out in the semifinals with the elites, trying to get into that top individual race.
I think that it was kind of widely known and accepted that looking at the kind of cutoff from quarterfinals to semifinals, it was easier to make online individual semifinals as an individual than it was to make it as a 35 to 39 year old, which just shows the depth of the field. It shows a little bit of the depth of the field, obviously a little bit of like the rules and stipulations with the top 2,000 versus 400, I think. But even so, like amongst those 400 really fit individuals. So Dino Sana, I don't know. He's either been to the games or at a very high level. That name's super recognizable. So.
Yeah, Costa Illich, I know this is his first time to ever make it. He's all the way from over in Australia, I believe. But I know that he had an injury on day one, so it looks like he has withdrawn after all, which is a bummer. But hey, he did win the performance of the day on the first day, because it was grit and resilience are primary criteria for that award, and that injury happened in that workout, and he still got second in the heat. It did not look like he was having fun, but he did not give up.
And just gotta say, right, like, and this may be a little slight, like, controversial opinion, because I know everybody's like, oh, like, why do I have to pay something to watch the Masters? Like, why do I have to pay to watch some of the events of the CrossFit Games, like through Flow Elite? Like, Flow Elite's turning around and giving a lot of money to athletes.
A lot.
So, I mean, I think that's something to be said. So, I mean, this athlete had to withdraw from competition, got hurt, but walks away with $750 at least. So, I mean, I think that just shows that, we want to, it's going to take a little bit of money to make a little bit of money in the sport, but if we can turn around and give that to the athletes, then, I think that helps grow the sport as well. So, I mean, it's my little soapbox speech there.
I love it. Bring it. That's good. Linda, do you know Linda Kemper? She said, I think Nelson can get me to the games. I hope you do win, and I hope you work with Nelson.
I was talking with her last year. Hopefully she comes to WODprep camp.
Yeah. And then, okay, we'll go ahead and get back up to the top of that leaderboard. And so, interestingly, you mentioned Ludwig's having a great weekend.
Yeah.
He's literally tied with Scott Panchik.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Tied for points coming in to the final day of competition. 2 events for these athletes remaining.
Again, I can't speak a lot on Ludwig. I don't know him as much. I got to do more of my homework. I mean, I think Scott does really well in this legless rope climb event, as does Noah. So, I mean, I think this is going to be an interesting one too. And I mean, definitely don't count Travis out either. I think that a lot of these races, I mean, I think, there's some more interesting, kind of storylines as well, like Marquand not sitting as high as I initially thought. I know that, again, like seasons for all these athletes, I know he's definitely developed in his coaching career. So, I don't know what necessarily that looks like, but a lot of it too is just depending on the events we see on the weekend. I'm sure, he would like to be higher and is probably going to push hard on these next 2 workouts as well. I think he does well on a legless rope climb. And again, I don't think that the sandbag bugs any of these guys at all.
Yeah.
So, it should be interesting to see.
Yeah, Travis, and unlike the others, those other divisions, they've got 1 event remaining to gain up some ground. These guys have 2 more events,
yes, I mean,
right?
200 points available for everybody. A lot can happen.
Yeah, and Travis, of course, you can think of on that final workout, you would expect him to do
Travis,
pretty well.
I don't want to know what Travis holds on that first bike, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that RPM number. It's going to make me feel bad about what I bike.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and just very quickly, we're going to take a look over at the individual leaderboard after the first day of competition for our individual competitors.
Yeah, and I think we will say, guys, we've been here all day coaching. We've had the individuals up on the TV and watching in between as much as we can. So, we're going to do our best to, give some insight here, but just know that, as the week unfolds, we'll be able to obviously spectate a lot more as you guys will and be able to offer some insight. But yeah, I mean, 7 events. I mean, I like to call it 5 because, like the total being 3 separate events and 3 separately scored events, but still 5 events in a day is a lot. And I mean, I think we saw that in the swim, man. But I mean, part of this is like, it's how much can you recover in between events? How much can your body tolerate volume wise?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's part of the competition. It sucks to see. I saw a lot of athletes either immediately coming out of the pool cramping, or I think some not able to finish, if I'm assuming right, with like Lydia, which I hope, for her sake, she's had a great year. And it's also just, it's always hard for an athlete when you like start off a competition window and like, you're coming out with 3 of it, like, 4 out of the 5 or 7 events or whatever you want to call it aren't necessarily her wheelhouse. And, and to then follow that up with, cramping and an event is never fun. So, I hope that she does well. It's been cool to see Alexis bounce back. That looked, I was going to say,
I think the thing is you see the footage of the athletes, and yet again, we are not there watching. So we're having to, stay up to date with the short form clips that we're seeing and a little bit of update show that we can catch. But honestly, we have not been able to be as present with that as we will be able to be very shortly. But yes, some of the things that you saw coming down the hill or whatever, she recovered seemingly exceptionally well following that, right? Came back and,
getting heat exhaustion.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, and I, yet again, haven't spoken to any of the athletes, haven't spoken to their coaches. This is just a pure observation from afar kind of thought.
Yeah.
But I think too, how much did the nutrition play in and just hydration, ability to recover on that front.
I will
for
say,
these athletes
I don't think it was actually saying heat exhaustion. I'm pretty sure the temperature was like in the 60s.
Yeah, I don't think it was too crazy.
I don't think it was too
we
hot,
weren't out there, but I don't think it was too crazy.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
I think she historically is known to be able to push past limits that most maybe would not, right?
Yeah.
And so it looked like that occurred. Yet again, we're just kind of observing from afar. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It'll be. I'm hopeful to see, and I think we will see that. Like they'll be all right. You know, they've got a day to recover, get a lot of nutrients back in the body, and just keep partying. So, but overall, what did you think? I know yet again, watching from afar, being aware of it from afar, just the first day of competition in general. What did you think about the individual competition?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the structure of the events, I think, were a lot of fun.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, a unique swim event that honestly, I think it's outside of a pure swim, whether it be open water or lap pool swim. It's, I think, the kind of most mixed swimming event that we've seen that still plays heavy on the swimming. You know, there's a lot of times, because I know there's been like swimming bar muscle ups and like, you know, kind of like other variants that, you know, like swim and ski where, you know, it plays into a little bit of some other factors. But, you know, seeing this style, you know, you saw some people where like you can actually benefit off of the swim, but still have to be fit in other areas. And I think that you saw that with Lucy and Ty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Ty has a swimming background. I feel like he has to be able to, you know, put out a time like that, which was awesome to see.
Yeah, he was smart.
I mean, yeah, and I think that, you know, I saw a lot of different kind of arguments on, you know, athletes hitting top end lifts versus, you know, like being super dampened. And I think, you know, I think that argument is quite literally why we're doing what we're doing. Cause like, you know, like, yeah, like you have athletes that can, you know, in their respective sports of like powerlifting and strongman or like deadlifting, like 800 pounds. I mean, you know, it's like 600 is like, you know, a 70%, 80% warm up set for them. But like, you know, they also have to be able to run 7K or, you know, whatever, you know, all these other kind of factors. Right. So, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing there.
I think it was really cool. I mean, the fatigue from the trail run alone, I would imagine, was pretty significant. By the way, Boot Camp Mindset says the first day of events was awesome. Yeah. I mean, I, from afar, 1000% agree. I say from afar, from about a mile down the road. Well, they weren't here. Anyway. But then the recoverability aspect, of course, is a general, like at the games, that's the name of the game, right? But so you had the, like with the lift in particular, how much of your strength can you express after a test like that? Was that test, right? And that's a cool thing to test. And we were talking what we thought about numbers this morning. And yet again, we're just kind of having fun speculating, if you will. But I think that the team, I know you said maybe 10 to 15% off of what their true one rep maxes would be.
Relatively accurate. And I think too, a little bit too, is the structure of that style of lifting, right? It's not like, okay, like, you know, you have 35 minutes and you're warming up just a like heavy power clean, like a heavy squat, snatch, ladder, right? It's the total, right? So I mean, you know, not only do you have to do like, you know, 3 lifts, but you have to warm up like kind of to like 90% for each one. And, you know, like there's that strategy of how many attempts to make. And, you know, I think with the format that they had, right, like you could kind of go on as you wanted, right? So, you know, you had some athletes strict pressing, you had some athletes deadlifting, which I do think, you know, not to be super critical, but like I think that was a little bit of a drawback in the stream, because there's a lot of like, okay, this athlete's doing this, we don't know. Like, you know, there's a lot of, well, we heard the athlete hit that lift. So, I mean, that's a little tricky in terms of, you know, I don't know the right answer for how you film that. You know, that is not my forte. But yeah, I mean, I think the some of the numbers we saw are pretty crazy. I will say, like, you know, and I know Colton's a fan of the show, and I mean, the lift counted, and it's awesome.
He's been on the show multiple times.
The bracing aspect turning into a little bit of a double bar, you know, double bounce on the bar. They gave it to him. You know, but I mean, a 260-pound strict press is just like absurd.
Yeah.
So I mean, a shout out to him for that.
For sure. We touched on it last night, and I like this question. I'll come back to you here in just a moment, Tyler. But so 2026, Colton Mertens sets the overall total. So I know it was 3 separate scores, but we'll go ahead and count it together to see what it was. And 1,380 pounds is what he lifted overall. His back squat and his deadlift weren't that dissimilar. And of course, his back squat was the highest that we saw, 555 pounds, as well as that strict press being the top strict press. He beat out the Royce Dunn in 2018, because we've tested the total, the CrossFit total 4 separate times at the CrossFit Games throughout the past 20 years. In 2018, Royce Dunn set 1,255. That's the highest that we've seen from a male in the CrossFit total at the CrossFit Games. And so pretty sizable jump up there for Colton Mertens. And then on the women's side of things, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So obviously we know Alex Kazan with her 170-pound strike press, which is just bananas.
Yeah.
That she actually beat out Tia's from 2020, Tia's overall total, by 30 pounds. So Alex Kazan's total was 920 pounds. And in 2020, Tia Claire Toomey said her total at 190 at that.
Yeah,
So
I think the field
really cool.
was lucky that they didn't have to do a bench press, because then it would be even more ridiculous, because I know Alex Kazan can bench press something like 270 pounds.
Yeah.
So just absolutely crazy there. So yeah, no, I mean, I think it's one of those ones that's really cool to see from a numbers perspective. I'm excited to see both the expression of that, and then, okay, like you can lift really heavy, but can you do it moderately heavy with a lot of expression of speed and snatch speed ladder? It's also going to be exciting to see how many athletes decide to wear their singlet for that event.
Yeah.
So, we'll
I wondered
see
if anyone, yeah. Well, and then continuing on, I heard some piece of content with Cairo was simply saying, she hit 370. So I saw the number 370 for her back squat. And I'm just like, knowing what she's already done, because all of these numbers, we cannot forget, they opened up with the hopper workout.
Yep.
They went straight into this run and then it was just rapid succession of, hey, get some fatigue going. Oh, get a lot more fatigue going. Okay, now go max out, right? And and then you're going to do more after that, which is just amazing. But so 370, and I heard something that she had said, I was just doing just enough to win. I think she did 5 pounds above the athlete sitting in second. And so it was like, hey, what do you think you could actually do? And I think she said she probably believed she could do 380 or higher. And I was over here just like mind blown by the 370, not to mention she was like, yeah, that wasn't even necessarily all I had to offer. And then it's also interesting to note, Amy Kringle, we should just go back over and I think we were on the women's. For the women, Amy Kringle sitting in first after the first day of competition, she had the highest deadlift, 425 pounds. So she came out with the hopper in 10th. She won the ranch run. She turns around and has a generally really good performance across the total as well, expressing a lot of strength after just absolutely sending it on the run. And she wins the race on the bike, and she gets 6th in this one. I mean, she's looking dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just talking to like fighting through adversity. I mean, I know the storyline's relatively well known now, but pretty nasty bee sting. I think on a run, like leading up to the game's face was like incredibly swollen. So, cool to see that, you can, I mean, that's not obviously for most, not like a life-threatening thing, but definitely not, what you want to see a week and a half, 2 weeks leading up to competition. So yeah, definitely. I mean, we know just from her background in endurance that she's going to do really well in those kind of things. I mean, I would expect her to do really well in both the run and the swim. But yeah, I mean, to see fighting for high placements in the hopper, and I think some of these other workouts like the 500-meter run, like she's gonna be looking a lot dangerous. And the interesting thing, I think, with this, and I know there was a clip yesterday from Dave talking, I think Jack Farlow, about like how all these athletes are talking about like, oh, what's your 5K time? Oh, what do you lift for that? And Dave kind of interjects and was like, well, what's your Fran time? And Jack's jokingly was like, we don't don't train like that anymore. That's old school. And very much to like Dave's chagrin, right? Like it's kind of like an inside thing there. And then I think Dave says something like, "Oh, well, you just lost your job," or something like that.
We do too.
But like in this fashion, I think that we're gonna see that. We saw that with the hopper. We're gonna see that across more competitions. But part of CrossFit is training for all of those domains, right? So it's but it's also, can you train a 5K? Can you swim, right? And I mean, I think that's where you see just different body types being able to express, right? Like, I mean, Colton having 2 first places and then also 2 30ths, right? And that's it's hard because I almost can't. I don't want to say that it's like a knock on him and his fitness, right? Like, the dude's incredibly fit, but like when it comes to a swim and when it comes to a bike, like, you're just working at a disadvantage in the same fashion that when he's doing Fran and when he's doing squatting, it is working to his advantage, which I'm sure for him as an athlete, he's probably sick and tired of hearing that narrative at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the programming is going to be that vast, which it should be, that's just kind of the structure. So you kind of have to like take the lumps where you are and then maximize where you're going to try to maximize, which is exactly what Amy's
doing. You see CJ's comment? Oh, that's great. We got to bring that up. Let me get back over there. CJ says 200 watchers. They do like Nelson more. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. So continuing on with that, one of the things that we spoke about at some point prior to the games. Oh, I say we spoke about. I believe this was actually a conversation maybe between the boys. I think Justin posed the question to Dave on their show, asking at the end of the first day of competition, how indicative do you believe that the placements at the end of day one will be relative to the end of Sunday?
I mean, like never, right? Because I mean, like every day one of competition across the games is always super different. We know the narrative of like Rich Froning, right, being in like 25th after day one in some years and then storming back on the final day. I mean, and again too, it's a like war of recovery, right? All of these athletes in a vacuum in each one of these events, you can make arguments in some form or fashion, can express like top 5 finishes, right? But that's not what it is. It's not, these 20 events scattered across the entire year and you have as many times as you can to do them. It's how can you perform over the weekend, endure over the weekend, and express over a full week, right? So I mean, I think that it's never a good showing. I mean, I think it's something to where you can see some surprises, right? Like, the podium you can more or less like see, okay, if someone's in 25th, they're probably not in podium contention. But I mean, unless you're Rich Froning. But I think for the biggest part of it, it shows who to watch for. But I don't want to use it as anything. Way too many points on the board, especially this year.
Sure. Yeah. And keeping in mind that 3 of the 7 scores yesterday were those half scores. And although we've been told we will get more, we don't know how many more, etc., and what those tests will be. So yeah, there's still so much unknown, but I like what you called out a couple things there. One, like this is the recovery game is real, right? Can you stay in it no matter what? And are you able to show up on Sunday like you showed up on day one? That's a huge piece of it. But then also the fact that, hey, the people at the top here are not surprises that they're sitting at the top after the first day, or they wouldn't be surprising names on both the men's or women's side to be sitting at the top at the end of the weekend either. And then once we get a little bit further down, then perhaps we'll see a little more shakeup. So it will be cool to come back to that. Of course, we'll have to see it unfold to know.
And I know this is probably not like a super popular take, just because like with kind of athlete type of stuff, I never want to use the word like surprising. I just want to use like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I mean, I think like Maddie Sturt's a good example, right? Like until recently, because I just like found myself on her like athlete profile, did not realize how long she's been in the sport.
Forever.
Like since like 2011 or something.
Yeah.
Or 2012. Like, I mean, if you go to her competition dashboard, it is extensive. Yeah. And that is just like crazy to see like how long she's been at the top, right? And like, I don't think you look at Maddie Sturt and you're like, oh, she's a perennial podium finisher. But like at the same time, she's having a great weekend thus far, a great day one of competition thus far, and has been competing for a long time. So I mean, yeah, like you scrolling all the way down there. Yeah, 2011, right? Like, I mean, that's freaking awesome. And has made the games that many times. So I mean, cool for her. I mean, I also know, cool storyline, her and Jay being a couple and like being engaged and being the first team or first couple to ever win the same event. Which is cool. Both winning the Hopper workout.
Yep.
And I mean, Jay was right in the mix last year. I think wore the leader jersey for the first 2 days. So, he's one that you're going to have to be on the lookout for. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's indicative, but I think it's really cool to see athletes who, maybe don't necessarily get the coverage that some of the big names get, but are still performing really, really well.
Yeah. I wonder with Ellie too, because you said wasn't she one of the ones that was cramping having I mean, she got 28th there.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, again, that I wasn't able to. Quite
that's just tough because I think prior to that she was sitting in like 5th or 6th, and I think she's a decent swimmer. I think.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was just something did not go well in that workout for her, is what I would imagine. I'm not sure. So.
And see, this is what's tricky, right? It's like Fraser Farms commenting, like Colton's run performance was disappointing. I thought running was improving.
I mean, could very easily be improving.
Yeah, and like, that's the hard part, right? Is that just like, I think it probably is improving, but just, like there's a lot of factors that come into that, right? Like stride length and I mean, levers and how all that moves. I mean, dude's also just got a lot of muscle on him, right? Like I wouldn't say he's the leanest athlete in the field, which, plays to his advantage when he's squatting, right? Because he's another one where, like, I think he had another 20 pounds in the tank on that back squat. He's also the type of athlete to where, like, when he lifts at maximal, right at submaximal, it doesn't really look like it, right? I mean, he bounces out of that squat and it looks super fine, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I mean, it's always super tricky, right? In the same way that like Pat always has the narrative of like, he never obviously trained swimming because he always craps out at every open water swim event or whatever it may be, right? And it's a tough narrative to have because these athletes are probably working so tirelessly on that specific thing just to make it to like the point where they're not getting dead last, right? So, I mean, it's tough when there's so many things to work on, and some of your things are so good, but some of your things need to be worked on so much.
I'm curious. Okay, so this question too, and we will we'll come back and make our way a little further down the leaderboard.
Yeah.
What time do you have to head out, by the way?
I got a little bit of time.
Okay, so this question, what did the athlete's recovery look like today? Light WOD, body work, mobility.
That's a great question.
Yeah, and I would imagine some form of everything that you just said, right? They're going to be in motion, not doing anything crazy, but certainly not just sitting around all day, like stretching and just moving. But certainly mobility, body work, I would imagine most, if not all, are going to be doing some form of that, I would think, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is where, you see that a large part of this, again, is and then this is the expenses of being an athlete. It's like, what do you have at your disposal, right? Like,
and these athletes are going to have most in this situation.
Yeah, and they're going to
pull out all the stops.
But I mean, I'm, as I'm sure CJ preaches on the podcast all the time, right? Like, movement is what they need, right? They that's what initiates the recovery process. That's what propagates it forwards. That make sure it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So I mean, I definitely wouldn't say a light WOD. I could see them doing, running through even just like body weight patterns of some of the stuff that they're going to be doing. Some of the stuff that may feel sticky, like I could see some squatting, some, hinging, just whatever may be tight. But you definitely don't want to ramp up the nervous system, right? Like you want to have a little bit of reset there, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to sweat, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could definitely see some light stuff. I don't think I see any of them running, but definitely some movement that would work the body up to a sweat a little bit. And then, I think nutrition is going to be the biggest thing, right? Like big intakes of carbs. You want to keep the, protein at an amount. And I know we're kind of diving into the nutrition side, but you don't want to go into full, normal protein intake, right? Because then the body's like, oh, okay, we're going to take a lot of effort to digest this because we're in recovery mode, right? And we're not kind of in recovery mode. We're in kind of we need to constantly stay up and need energy, right? So it's going to be a lot of carbs for these athletes, and taking in the easiest ways possible.
I'm thinking of mineral depletion over the course of yesterday with all the events they did, right? Sodium, potassium, magnesium in particular. And so I'm sure that, all these people are paying attention to that. I actually don't know the answer to this at all. Do you, or CJ, if you're still listening, know? Are athletes allowed during competition to get IVs?
They're not. That is explicitly
because I would think if they were allowed to do so, you would think after a day like yesterday, 100% of the field would be doing that.
Unless it's deemed by medical.
Yes,
that,
I think you're right.
Yeah, they're not allowed IVs. That's
that would just be so interesting because so if they were allowed to receive nutrients via IVs, would you think that all of them would be doing that?
I don't think so, man.
Okay.
I mean, I think that. I mean, I say that. I know that Dallon's camp loves the whole blood lactate threshold stuff and all that, getting super nuanced into it. But I mean, I think that yes, they're definitely depleted in electrolytes. But I mean, you can supplement that
you can
pretty
get back.
easily.
Sure,
you can also get that back in just eating foods, right? Which I'm sure they were all doing after the events. I mean, so much of your mineral depletion is an acute thing in the middle of an event, right? Which you either have it there or you don't. You can't because you obviously can't take an IV in the middle of the swim event. And it's going to take time if you take it through fluids. But it's relatively easy at rest to get that back to somewhat of a baseline.
Yeah.
So I don't see them doing anything like that. I also don't see a ton of red light or cryo or anything like that going on right now.
Those that do use those modalities will realistically probably use them. Those that are used to using them in their recovery routine will probably have brought those things.
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit of, again, it's because it's different, like when you're like recovering day to day in training versus like recovering full out like across a competition window, right? I mean, there's a lot of that kind of signaling that tells the body like, hey, like, you know, we're gonna need you to like go into repair mode, which is expensive to the body, right? Like versus like, hey, like we need to repair the best that we can, but we also need to get ready to push again.
Yeah, I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough about that specific
and again, it's
window.
It's kind of like, you know, I don't want to say like a fugazi kind of thing, but I mean, I think ultimately,
I don't even know what you just said.
That's a Wolf of Wall Street reference, but I think what it comes down to is like, what does the athlete do to make them feel better, right? I think that's something that's really big. So if that's like red light therapy, cool. But I think like the building blocks are you getting as much sleep as you possibly can, despite the factors of being like, you know, probably really hydrated, really stressed out emotionally, and also stressed out physically, and then nutrition, right? Like that, I think supersedes all of like the small stuff. They're probably utilizing as much small stuff as they can. But like, again, like we preach that like for most of our athletes, you know, if you can do all the cryotherapy in the world, but if you're sleeping 5 hours a night and you're eating like shit, like,
right. You know. Or and I great touch on too, like stressors are, you know, some of them are not so seen, right? So like I feel like nutrition is a more obvious one, right? But like literal emotional stress, things like that, like what are your surroundings look like to promote an environment that causes you to not be in a heightened state on a day like today.
Yeah, which I mean, I know for me, and I know for a lot of these athletes too, it's like when you are at the venue or when you're away from the venue, when you're at home, like do something else.
Yeah.
Like they're playing games, they're watching movies. No one's talking about CrossFit because like you have to be so up for that. I shouldn't say that. There are probably athletes that are just like, you know, kind of always in the event. I could see somebody like James being like that. And I mean, some people are wired that way. Some people just are not. I mean, again, I think it comes down to all these athletes for them are either in the process of understanding who they are and what works for them, or they very much well know already and they're just, you know, doing what works for them. And I think that's a little bit different for everybody. I mean, it's all those old road to the games and like games documentaries where, you know, you see like Fronings just like eating junk food and like hanging out with the boys. And like you see some people can handle that. Some people need to be like a little bit more dialed, like Fikowski. So, you know, I think it's, again, just like what works for you.
Yeah, love it. Cool. All right. So, yep, we already touched on Amy in first, Lucy sitting in second, winning that swim, beating all the men in the swim. Pretty cool. Madeline Sturt, we talked about her. Haley Adams sitting in fourth. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, after a total event, I mean, I think she's definitely, again, just talking about narratives, working away the whole like, oh, she's aerobic, but she can't lift. So, I mean, it's been cool to see, you know, her progression through all of that within the sport with how long she's been in it.
Well, and what you see here, fourth in the hopper, second in the run, a 29th in, which one is
squat,
this? The squat. Yeah. Let's see.
12th in the strict press, though.
Not bad. Yep. And then 27th. So there were 2 hits that took place there. Thankfully for her, these were 50-point events, right? So it wasn't so detrimental because it's almost the equivalent of like 1.5 events, right? Instead of 3 points wise. And then 5th place on the track. Sorry, just want to make sure I'm getting it right. And then
the bike.
Yeah, 8th on the swim. So, really, really good first day for her. Emma Lawson, not surprising to see her up here. Alex Kazan, again, not surprising. Aline Weirs.
Yeah.
Aline Weirs. I listened to her pronounce it yesterday, and I still have work to do to get there. Aline Weirs. We tried. Anyway, cool to see her all the way up there, right? Because isn't she last second backfill?
I mean, she is, and I think this is something too where, you know, another storyline you get, right, is like day one of CrossFit, like, you know, games competition always like favors those like European and Oceania athletes, right? Like, because you see the swims, you see the aerobic stuff that just like they have that background, you know, just years and years of doing those kind of things. So yeah, it is kind of cool to see because I don't know where she's from. Is that like Czechia?
Ooh. That's not what I wanted to do. What even did I do? From Europe? Switzerland.
Okay. It's one of those things where it's like CHE. Okay. I got to get hip to that and educated to that. But yes, I mean, cool to see, right? So, I mean, I think that, you know, as we start to see more like the gymnastics stuff and some of the other things, you'll see like more of the familiar names like shifting throughout the leaderboard. But
Ariel
again, one day of competition, lot left.
Yeah. Ariel Owen in 8th, Ellie Turner in 9, having a really good 9th. It's having a great first day. Elisa Fuliano 10th, Paige Rogers sitting in 11th. Let's look at so she did great in the swim. Looks like the bike was not so good for her relative to everything else.
Which is just tricky.
The run was 28th.
Yeah. Which I mean, cause she. Yeah, I mean,
she's going to be great.
She
did
really well.
A lot of stuff though.
Did she not do really well at the Mayhem
run?
I mean, I know they had a lot of burpees in it, but
if I remember correctly, I think it went well for her.
Yeah. Okay.
Meaning, I think maybe middle of the field on that one. We'd have to go pull it back up exactly, but I know that historically is the thing that she's got probably the most work to do on.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and the bike one, and I think this is why it's a great event, is just tricky too, right? Because not only do you have to be good at expressing that kind of like just form of exercise with like the biking and lactic threshold with your quads, but more importantly, like you have to execute, right? Like that bike is an event that's so tricky. Like we saw crashes, we saw just overtakes in ways that because again, that's a whole different sport, right? That's a sport in and of its own, and we're expressing a high above average version of that compared to like the elite cyclocross and cyclist athletes, but at the same time, you have to perform well too, not only from a performance standpoint but from an execution standpoint. So that just adds in another layer.
Yeah, and it isn't a surprise, but I heard some people who were actually on site for that just talking about how some of the athletes look quite comfortable on the bikes, you know, even being able to kind of line up in Peloton-esque stuff versus some that looked really uncomfortable. CJ says people get IVs all the time. I'm not sure if he's referencing that the athletes do during this or just generally that people do. Not
Let's
sure.
ask him.
And then, CJ, can you comment on that?
During the games?
Oh, hi.
IVs? I don't think so. Can they?
Okay, well, I guess
are they allowed to?
I'm pretty sure I read in the rule book that they're not allowed.
They are not allowed to. Say that again.
I think it's the concept of like.
I understand it's illegal. I'm just letting you know that I know it happens.
Oh, CJ's got that insider.
CJ got a strong
CJ
opinion out
coaches
here.
a team at the games, and he has all the insider information.
Yeah, he knows. Well, I guess we can share your opinion, right?
Anyway,
maybe we should share his opinion.
So yeah,
He thinks
we
that
got a
people
lot of people popping over at the WODprep booth. Let's dive over to the men's side real quick. And then
okay,
we'll
wait,
wrap it up.
but then also people were just commenting just so that you and I are both aware that it looks like there may have been an ankle injury.
Okay, so Paige has an injury
for Paige coming in, which of course, if the run is already not necessarily her best thing, then yeah. So, but I really, I think this is still like. I think she goes going climb.
Yeah, I mean they're all gonna push through injuries, and it's like again too. It's a war of attrition during the season. Like, you know, when you're pushing your body to perform that well, like it's almost a miracle if you can come into competition without something. So I mean, you know, it's a tough part of it.
Someone said, when is the next workout? So the individuals, this is their rest day, just for reference. Teams are going to get started. They're going to do 2 events later today. And then the masters are going right now. You can view the masters over on Flow Elite. And so they are maybe right now, the younger age division is doing their 6th event. And then so they have one more, and then all of the divisions will then do their final event. None of them have started that yet. So we've got one final event for all of the masters divisions coming up they're going to start in about an hour.
And I would assume this question specifically referencing the individuals. So for Friday, I'm not 100% sure when their competition starts.
No, I don't think that they've actually announced much of anything for them for Friday. Individuals? Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, so it's what's on the game.
You want to take a look at that? You want to pull up a tab and just take a look? So I'm going to keep moving down the leaderboard. We're going to take a look. That was loud.
Yeah.
Okay, Matilda Garn sitting in 6th, Daniel Brandon in 13th, Kyra Milligan in 14th, Bergros, Bjorn started in 15th, Syria Meha 16th, Olivia Kerstetter 17th, Ella Wilkinson, Miriam Von Rohr, Janie Chevry, Holly Tynan, Alexis Raptis. If we take a look at Alexis's performances, looks like 15th on the hopper, 29th on that run, and then managed to come back and do relatively well there. And then, I mean, yeah, with a 13th and 15th to finish the day. So hopefully she is continuing to climb and how she feels for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move along to the men's side now.
I think just a quick thing to touch on too. Just like how impressive Bear Gross, you know, coming in as a 19-year-old, and fighting her way like to be where she is at this point. Like and has the potential to climb even more. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So then moving over to the men's side, I think this is quite fun that you've got James, Dallin, Justin in 1, 2, 3, and who's right below them? Jay and Ricky. And so, the fact that there's 1 point separating Dallin and James is also quite fun. So those to me are like the standouts when just taking a quick glance at the top of the leaderboard. Moritz Fiebig sitting in 6th. He had a great first day of competition. He got, I think it was like 18 minutes, 15 seconds on the bike. Anyway, he did a great job there. And I also just like to call out, I think it's so cool. He came over pretty early into the United States and was over at Diablo CrossFit, a local affiliate, coaching their community for like he came over to prepare, get acclimated, etc. Yeah. And so
That's
he's,
awesome.
he's like, not only was he here to get ready for the games, but he was just giving back to the community. Like I think he has, I think that just is clearly a priority to him. So how special is that for that community that for, I don't know, a few weeks prior to the games, they had a games athlete coming over and coaching them.
I think it's just also cool from the concept of like, I would assume he speaks English relatively well.
Yes.
But like at the same time, like it probably wouldn't have even mattered, right? Because just to an extent, like movement's universal, and just the ability to like show that, despite probably not an aggressive language barrier, but a language barrier probably nonetheless is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Roman sitting in 7th, Jason sitting in 8th, Colton sitting in 9th, even with those swings, right?
Yeah.
Saxon in 10th, Adler sitting in 11th.
Yeah, I think I was talking to some of my buddies, and I think that was just the biggest surprise, like mainly just on the run. I mean, he's such an elite runner, and I would have had him in the top 3 for that.
Yeah.
Going back to also just a question, it looks like so opening ceremonies on Friday are from 9:15 to 10:15. I would assume this is Eastern time. No, that wouldn't make sense. This is Pacific time. It has to be.
Yeah.
So individual event 8 starts at 12:40 Pacific time.
Okay.
So East Coast be 3:40. And then, but again, we don't know what individual event 8 is.
Yep. And then event 9 at 2:30 Pacific, event 10, 3:35 Pacific.
So I would assume that your event 9 and event 10 are your either 50-point events or events that are like
shorter,
less overall. Yeah, just with the time difference between the two.
Sure. Yeah. Because then you have not a crazy gap from that to the event number 11. But what about event? Wow.
Man,
okay.
That's another
and
ton
event
of
12.
Events.
Yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 events on Friday. Cool.
Yeah. You got to fill in 20. It's a lot.
Yeah. There's a comment here. Dallin's running and James' strength progression is super impressive from Fraser Farms. Yes, absolutely. Both of those things are clear standouts for the two of them. A 4th, sorry, that's not the one I wanted. The deadlift, the total, he got 2nd. James got 2nd on the deadlift with 590 pounds, right? 26th on the press. Where am I? 26th and then a 17th on the squat. So yes, made great progress there. Meanwhile, for Dallin, getting a 10th in the run. Pretty good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just funny narratives too. Like I think that, James will be the first one to talk about like how he's just like not a great presser, and like, seeing him being then able to turn out and put out a 2nd on the deadlift is pretty freaking sweet.
Yep.
And I mean, I think that Dallin's progression has definitely been good, but he also like was already a pretty solid runner. But I mean, like I know the Brute Camp works a lot on that. And again, this is just like what we talked about earlier, right? Like the specificity of working on your weaknesses, right? Like, and you see them bringing in like relative like subject matter experts into these different camps to work on those specific things because their CrossFit baseline is so high. So it's either like, okay, let's get stronger. Let's bring up some of your weaknesses in this pattern, or let's like train this modality, whether it be swimming, whether it be running, whether it be machine expression, which I know for those 3 boys, that is not the issue. So I mean, it is very impressive to see. But I mean, that's what all these athletes programming is, right? It's all just drilling what you're weak at, as opposed to like, the path to get here, which is also training what you're weak at, but like building that baseline all the way up. So it's definitely cool to see.
Yep. Yeah. And then just Justin simply being in 3rd after day 1 is also,
he's looking really good, man.
He's looking
good.
Like
I'm really excited to see, like the Justin of a few years ago where like, he seems healthy and he seems confident, and again, I think being in his home spot's only going to help him when he gets into the Sharks Arena or the SAP Center. So yeah, I'm really excited to see him perform this weekend.
Absolutely. Let's see, Guy taking a 30th on the run, but then turning around, of course. So it looks like he's got some highs and some lows here. He is sitting in 20th.
Yeah, which
then,
I mean, we're gonna see him do really well in the snatch ladder, I would assume, and we're gonna if there are any other like smaller kind of strength events. So
yep. Quinn, another one that coming in, there was I think a lot of chatter about how is he going to do rookie? Is he going to get rookie of the year? Things like that. So if we look at, let's see, sorry guys, I'm kind of
which I mean is a cool thing too. I mean, I've competed against Quinn a good chunk of times. I've like trained to his gym too. Like he's a cool dude. So I mean, it's exciting to see him, and he's looking really fit. And I don't necessarily think that the leaderboard right now completely shows that. I think that there are going to be some events that if they line up with specific movements like rope climbs or any more kind of like longer expressions of running, which we probably won't see maybe in like a mixed setting. I think he's going to do really, really well. So yeah, I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, a 30th in the hopper. I think that the commentary was simply like press pull is maybe not the best for him, and that would indicate that that's the case. Of course, he does have a really strong squat. Let's see, what was his placement on this squat? That was, I think, his 9th place. Yeah, 500 pounds. So a good placement there, and we'll just see how that continues to play out for him. And then Dylan Hamming being another rookie on the individual side of things anyway. So anything else on the men's leaderboard that you want to specifically call out here?
I mean, I think it's gonna be fun to watch the battle. I mean, I think this is not the first time that both Spencer and Saxon have been competing, right? They've competed at the games against each other before.
I actually think it is.
It is. Okay. So I mean, I think
I'm not
if that is the case, and even if it
but
isn't the case, I think that regardless, that's going to be a good kind of just battle to watch. I mean, just two brothers duking it out, and seemingly, seemingly they're similar. I don't know if there's that much difference between them in terms of their strengths and weakness. I'm sure there are, but not that I know of. So it'd be cool to see those, see them do that. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm just really curious to see where Ty is going to finish up. Like, I mean, still, I think he's 20. So, I mean, but just like putting out
years old.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just consistently getting a lot better. And, I think that he definitely has a big future in the sport. And then
he seems to have a very high athlete IQ.
I mean, yeah, he's been doing it for such a long time. Like, I mean, you're seeing you have to have that for all these athletes that are coming across the teen division who are just got years of this now. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I love it, man. Okay, so they get a well-earned, deserved rest day. We're gonna finish things out here with the Masters here within the next handful of hours, and one more event to go for these guys.
Yep.
Some highly probable podium finishes for WODprep athletes.
Check it out.
Make sure that you tune in for all of that. And then
we got teams later today. I know the events aren't going to be streamed by any streaming service. I'm sure there'll be ways to watch through other channels of the teams. So, I think it's always a fun thing to support. Obviously, I'm a little biased because, I'm an alternate on a team, but I think that it's, you see a lot of athletes who make that jump from team to individual. So it's almost like your G League or development league or, minor league to where you can see, athletes who want to try to make that jump. So make sure you guys check that out as much as you can. Yep. They also had another event get released, which will be really interesting. We didn't touch on this, but if anybody wants, or if anybody has any info on exactly what the GHD med ball is going to be, I think that's going to be really interesting to see the teams do.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be, I think that's individual event 6. Or not, sorry, team event 6. So that'll probably take place Saturday.
And it's a GHD med ball throw.
Yes.
Is how it's written.
GHD med ball sit up plus a throw, I would assume.
Okay. GHD sit up plus med ball throw. That is going to be interesting. So,
Barry asking why aren't they streaming teams today? Not 100% sure. I would assume with it being outside and it being on Barack Obama Boulevard, it might just be a little kind of hectic to get a good stream there. Plus, I'm sure that there's things regarding like, I'm nothing but politically correct. You know this. Anyway, but either way, I think you should, definitely check it out. And in some form or fashion, because they're going to be doing some kind of handstand relay and
that'll be fun.
Like a bobsled or a bob push. And I want to say one right into the other would be.
Can we talk about this crop top vibe?
That's Jace. Jace Peck, semifinal athlete.
That's
competed
not
against him a handful of times.
Oh, that is because that's I get him and Jace Brooks, their names mixed up.
Yeah,
that's Jace Peck.
Yeah,
that was a vibe. He's got like jeans and looks like cowboy boots and like a pink crop top. That was truly a vibe.
I know a lot of like
way to
teens
express yourself
that are were like in the teen category or here like supporting.
Yeah.
Jace being one of them. So.
Adaptives check in today. Teens check in today. They're going to get started as well tomorrow. So. I want to touch on this real quick. Jordan Tyler says, just wanted to say thank you for your multiple bar muscle up video from 9 years ago. It really helped me. So that's super cool to hear. Thank you for commenting about that. I'm assuming that was a video of Ben teaching you how to go from one to multiple.
Yep.
And the beautiful thing about these videos is YouTube has evergreen content. You can go just find that video and watch it if you're someone that's stuck in that purgatory.
If you want a little bit more, then there are lots of avenues for that as well, whether it be academy.
Oh, sure.
Whether it be our one-on-one scholarship that we're giving out, which again, awesome opportunity there. Full year of one-on-one coaching, regardless of whether your goals are to get a certain skill or to make it to the CrossFit Games. And, I think that this weekend is obviously a good kind of flex for us, showing that we have athletes across every single division except individual.
Yeah, we're working on it.
We're working on it. But
if you're an individual and you need some one-on-one coaching, I heard that Bill's on the demo team. I heard he was potentially open to having a coach. So maybe he should talk to CJ and him should talk.
And we've had a lot of interactions. I know like CJ was like doing some stuff with Hattie Conyos. I mean, like we're making our way there, but got teams, got masters.
I don't know about that, but yeah. Okay.
I feel like rehab stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I don't think so.
But yeah, so lots of stuff going down. But yeah,
Love it.
make sure you guys check out the end of the, Masters games. Check out the teens and adaptives. They do really, really amazing and awesome things.
And I'll be doing a recap show about that later today and every day on the Flow Elite channel on YouTube. So we'll be recapping. I'll be with Bill Grunler. I think we'll have we've got guests every single day. And I think Chase Ingram will be a part of it at some point. So anyway, just kind of stay tuned over there. Make sure that you subscribe over there and get your notifications on that channel as well, because that's where we'll be doing recaps for that. And then, as you mentioned, for Academy and so on, I just want to redirect once again, one final time on this show, that the QR code in the top right corner is, if you'll go ahead and scan that, that will take you to a form to fill out, which is an application for our $7,500 scholarship. It is a giveaway. You just enter for free, and it gets you entered for a chance to win 1 full year of one-on-one coaching, a ticket to WODprep camp, apparently now some swag because Ben's feeling even more generous, and membership to WODprep Academy as well.
Y'all keep drumming it up, and Ben's just gonna like give you the keys to his car. Or something,
another one. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. This was actually, I expected this to be fun, but I don't get to hang with you on the podcast very much.
I'm always available. CJ always knows that.
I don't run that show.
Yeah, I know.
Talk to CJ about that. But I'm grateful that you came in. Thank you very much.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And again, just, like this is the time of the year where we all come together. So, tune in and be as involved in it as much as you can. Go to your affiliate, drum it up there.
And we could
what drives it.
We could even be grateful for what we have. I know it's kind of a wild thought.
Yeah.
But we could even be grateful for what we have, right? Like we do have the sport. And are there things we always want to improve? Yeah, that's part of humanity, right? Yep. But this is all going down. These are really special moments. This is awesome programming. This is year number 20 of this thing that we love. And all being in the same location, just there's a lot to be grateful for. So
absolutely.
Let's do that.
All right. That's a good way to wrap it.
Awesome.
We'll see you guys later.
All right. Have a good one.